So, 06 tried to rectify his situation by volunteering to help 01 in 2011, promising to contribute to laying the foundation for the ordination project to support 01's dream of ordaining 1 million monks. This led 01 to agree to 06 taking on the role of president of the 2011 100,000 monks ordination project across Thailand. However, in reality, 06 became an infiltrator, sabotaging the project's success. This included embezzling training funds from each center and refusing or closing registration despite high interest. A center was supposed to accept 70 applicants, but only accepted 30 while claiming the full budget. The working committee, both monks and laypeople, used the training money for their own indulgence, leaving the trainees deprived, intending for them to leave if they couldn't endure it. They even went so far as to bribe various abbots to prevent 01's free ordination project from succeeding. This led to attempts to report to Luang Por Dhammachayo that there was intentional fraud in 01's project, a project that people had always trusted, but 01 was unaware of. It even led to speculation that 01 could allow monks to defraud in a charitable project. Good monks were persecuted and forced to leave. In many places, if one encounters fraud and cannot tolerate it, they have to leave because it's an order from the central government to do the same thing throughout the country. In other words, if you're allowed to cheat, the whole country has to cheat. All of this is because 06 resents 01, believing that once the temple was finished, 01 would go and meditate. 06 was already preparing to become the abbot in 01's place. 06 had worked hard to find ways to raise a large amount of money to support the monastic community for a long time, so they wouldn't need to solicit donations again. It's as if 06 misunderstood that the song "Give Me a Chance," which 01 played in the school during its 60th anniversary, meant 01 wanted to pursue spiritual practice. This is why 06, when inviting people or holding meetings at the 3 hermitages, was so reluctant to participate. He would encourage everyone to dedicate themselves fully to the fundraising efforts for various construction projects, because once completed, they could then sit and practice meditation with 01. No longer having to do the exhausting work of begging donors and no longer needing to solicit donations, if 06 became the abbot. However, when 01 finished the construction, he started another project to raise funds through nationwide ordination. 06 then held onto the temple's common fund tightly, having carefully preserved it to support the loyal temple members for a long time. But 5 years later, in 2014, 01 suddenly suggested building the Thadachivo pagoda and quickly raised new funds. This shows that 02 no longer needed half of the common fund because 01 solicited new donations for its construction. And 06 didn't want to return the money to the donors who helped the cooperative anyway. Since 02 no longer needed the temple's common fund, 06 then seized the opportunity to take half of 02's share of the money and secretly withdrew 700 million baht from the construction fund for the Thadachivo pagoda. He lied to the finance department, saying he would use it to repay the donors who helped the cooperative, as 01 had previously suggested. However, after withdrawing the money, he disappeared. Those who knew checked with the donors and found that they had not received any repayment from 06. But since 06 had withdrawn the construction funds for the Thadachivo pagoda, construction had to be stopped because the money ran out. 01 didn't find out about this until 2015. 01 still saw 02 at Luang Por Dhammachayo, even though 02 had supposedly signed a contract granting 06 the authority to manage the temple and had to move elsewhere at the end of 2014. 01 then called people in to inquire, suspecting that the pagoda construction was unfinished and wondering why. That's when 01 learned the truth. 06 had withdrawn this money, claiming it was to repay the donors who helped the cooperative, as 01 had promised. When 01 questioned 06, 06 didn't deny it, but refused to answer when O1 asked what he did with the money or who he gave it to. This led O1 to expel O6 from the temple, forbidding him from returning, because if he didn't say where the money went or who he gave it to, it meant he refused to be taught or told what was right or wrong, indicating his refusal to admit wrongdoing. If he didn't accept that what he did was wrong, he would certainly do it again when given the opportunity. Because taking the donated money through lies and not disclosing where it went or to whom it was given shows a refusal to accept any instruction from Abbot O1, who was the abbot at the time. This is tantamount to admitting to stealing the money and accepting expulsion from the temple in order to avoid returning it. Legally, O6 has broken the law, and monastically, he has violated the fourth precept, lying, in order to violate the second precept, embezzling donated money, rendering him no longer considered a monk. The fact that O1 didn't publicly announce it, out of compassion and allowing him to reflect on his actions, instead fueled resentment in O6. We learn through divine intervention that when O6 moved to America after being expelled by O1 in September 2015, he was seen studying criminal case proceedings. And he found a way to use this method to take revenge on Abbot Fra Dhammachayo. We know this intention of revenge was genuine. After learning from the team that went to pay respects to the enlightened monk in 2018, it became clear that O6 was a Muslim who had ordained as a monk. According to global news reports, the purple faction above was also supported by Islam. Furthermore, a group of new followers reported that O6 was the one who brought the purple faction to take over Wat Phra Dhammakaya, collaborating with them from 2019 until they released news claiming full ownership of Wat Phra Dhammakaya and its branches worldwide by the end of 2021. Everything must therefore be interpreted in the same direction, since O6 wanted to use Wat Phra Dhammakaya to implement his Islamic plan from the moment he ordained. If he were permanently banned from the temple, he would be unable to carry out the tasks assigned to him by the Islamic faction. As long as Fra Dhammachayo remains the abbot, he must find a way to remove Fra Dhammachayo from his position as abbot as quickly as possible. As for O6's embezzlement of 700 million baht in donations, Fra Dhammachayo didn't tell anyone, for the reason that he didn't want to erode the faith of the laypeople in the temple and other good monks. Therefore, O6 is using this as leverage to reveal anything that benefits himself. If anyone suspected otherwise, then O6 would have played into the hands of O2, who greatly admired O6's monasticism. If O6 told the truth about the embezzlement and was subsequently expelled from the temple by O1, O2 certainly wouldn't have helped him. But what kind of lie would lead O2 to help O6 and allow O6 to return to the temple, to the church, in less than 3 months after being expelled? It was his return and appointment to a higher monastic rank, at the abbot of Wat Rajorat, a position he held the previous year, 2014. He used that privilege, which hadn't yet been fully filled in appointing monastic ranks, to appoint O6. In 2015, the following year, it became clear that O2 asked the abbot of Wat Rajorat to help bring O6 back. In early December 2015, O6 had just left the temple on O1's orders in September 2015. Less than 3 months later, he returned. But this time, his return was for revenge against O1. And the process of revenge against O1 by O6 began immediately. As reported in the news, criminal charges against Fra Dhammachayo were issued in early 2016. And pressure was exerted to issue an arrest warrant after O1 received over 90 awards and accolades from 45 countries worldwide on his 72nd birthday on April 22, 2016. In May, there was a planned arrest, but by divine intervention, it dispersed by the end of May 2016. However, in reality, they regrouped and sought ways to eliminate the mass following that O1 supported, using DMC-TV as a platform to communicate with his followers. There was news of the closure of DMC-TV channel in December 2016 to cut off support from outside areas for Fra Dhammachayo O1 at that time. Then, they used Article 44 of the Constitution, issued by the Prime Minister at that time, to close the temple for 3 days to search for and arrest O1. However, DSI records clearly state that O1 was not found in the temple within those 3 days and they were prepared to leave. Instead of withdrawing, the officers were ordered to wait. After a while, an order was issued for the monks, novices, and lay people in the temple to gradually report to the officers at the tent and then leave the temple. This was essentially an expulsion of people from the temple before its closure. The temple residents became suspicious and did not comply with the order, staying to guard the temple and chanting the Dhammakaya Sutta for 23 days before the United Nations intervened and negotiated, allowing the temple to reopen on March 10, 2017. This led to some of the events depicted in the movie, Ihapasiko, released in 2021. Therefore, the negative events that occurred to Luang Por Dhammachayo O1 were largely motivated by Islam. The main character is O6, and the fact that O6 is not appearing at Wat Phra Dhammakaya, as if he has disappeared, is not because he has disappeared. He hasn't vanished. He's been working behind the scenes, engaging in dirty deeds. These include destroying the Phra Maha Dhammakaya Chetty, using black magic and sorcery. He deceives and is crude by soliciting donations for gold leaf, promising to adorn the dome of the Phra Maha Dhammakaya Chetty with filth and desecration. He solicits donations using forged sermons signed by someone else. This happened in late 2018, when it was later discovered that a new temple committee was formed on December 26, 2018. Lasting until 2019, with O6 as vice chairman, or advisor, and O2 as chairman. This clearly indicates that O1 expelled O6 from the temple because O6 is a thief and a deceiver. In reality, he should have been defrocked and prosecuted to recover the 700 million baht in donations for the temple. However, defrocking a monk is not the responsibility of the lay people, and there will be karmic consequences if he acts inappropriately. Even O1 doesn't want karmic retribution for ordering the defrocking of a monk. So O1 told him to go away so he could reflect on himself. Even in 2016, he returned claiming to be helping O1 with his criminal case, with the support of O1's secretary, Fra T. Those who have been following our story this far probably know that, in reality, O6 is a thief, a heartless person who fabricated criminal charges against O1, both hiring people to sue and pressuring O1. And then O6 plays the role of a hero, offering to help O1 with the criminal case that he himself planned and orchestrated. Is this a good person? Yes. Very good, because he volunteered to protect the temple and help Abbot O1. But it's all to control O1's communications and know his entire situation, and to cooperate with O1's secretary, Fra T, to prevent anyone from accessing O1. He claims it's for O1's safety, but it's to know the right time to strike O1. For example, knowing when the doctor would give thrombolytic medication to dissolve the blood clots that were blocking the major artery, causing O1's left leg to swell and turn black, and causing him so much pain. He had to remain still while the medication was working. The doctor forbade any movement of his body. Moving him would create pressure in the bloodstream, causing blood clots that had broken off by the medication to enter the bloodstream. These clots could be pumped through the lungs and block blood vessels, or they could block the heart valves, potentially leading to his death. So, they had the prosecutor write a letter urging his surrender, pressuring him to turn himself in during that time. Perfect timing, wasn't it? And then, fearing that O1 wouldn't comply with the doctor's orders, O6 even had a monk, Fra T, take O6 to O1's bedside to personally persuade him to surrender. They were afraid of ruining their meticulously planned scheme. If O1 agreed to surrender, it would seem justified, especially since it was a Friday afternoon. If he surrendered and then claimed it was a public holiday, he would have to be detained until Monday for court. They could also claim that a monk cannot be detained without being removed from his monastic robes, allowing them to remove Fra Dhammachayo's robes and detain him in a DSI cell first. Then, during the weekend, they could do whatever they wanted, since Fra Dhammachayo was on thrombolytic medication, unable to move, and at risk of death. Pulmonary embolism or heart valve blockage can cause death. If something causes death, especially on a weekend, it could easily fall under this category. Cleverly done. Do you see the wickedness? If it were the truly good-natured, doctorate monk O6, he might not think like this. But now that everyone knows the truth, that O6 is Muslim, he doesn't believe in karma or retribution. And he even embezzled 700 million baht of the temple's donations without fear of sin, without fear of Luang Por Dhammachayo, O1. When O1 questioned O6, he refused to say anything, indicating he truly doesn't fear sin. A monk who doesn't fear sin is not a real monk. This confirms that O6 is a Muslim who became a monk, and therefore doesn't believe in Buddhist teachings. Yet he earned a doctorate in Buddhism because it was funded by sponsors. He didn't have to pay for his education himself. This shows he studied for the sake of knowledge. To intimidate those who aren't as educated, like O2, who often boasts about only having a master's degree and always admires doctorates monks as superior, claiming they are not as knowledgeable as him. O2 has always accepted being subservient to O6, simply because O6 has a doctorate degree. This means that O6 earned a doctorate in Buddhism only to intimidate and threaten Buddhists. Because O6 doesn't believe in merit or sin, he is capable of committing any sinful act. O6 dared to commit the sin of lying, violating the fourth precept, abstaining from sexual misconduct, which the Buddha stated that whoever violates the fourth precept is capable of violating all other precepts. He also violated the second precept, stealing donations from the temple. Therefore, he is capable of committing all 5 precepts. If his goal is to carry out an Islamic plan to destroy Buddhism, it becomes perfectly clear that this is how it works. O6 simply wants to eliminate Fra Dhammachayo, O1, because O1 is hindering O6's success in seizing the largest Buddhist temple in the world for Islam and acting in the best interests of Islam. Since Fra Dhammachayo, O1 is in power, O6 cannot succeed, so O6 must eliminate O1. It's that clear. If anyone doesn't want to believe it, that's their problem. O6 doesn't seem afraid of this leaking out because he says everything himself. Therefore, don't accuse us of slandering O6, because he said everything himself. Otherwise, how would we know? Go ask him if it's true or not. Don't ask me. O6 had planned all along to get O1 killed in prison, but fate intervened, causing O1 to faint before he could turn himself in, thus preventing him from surrendering as planned. He even went to beg in person, but it couldn't be helped. He even had the officers leave before O1 recovered and could contact authorities to surrender before 4 p.m. But that was in May 2016. Then fate forced them to retreat and regroup. O6 then secretly contacted officials to cut off the DMC channel, the means of communication with O1's supporters, in December 2016. O6 then used connections and money to make a deal to divide the temple's assets in order to use Article 44 to raid the temple and find a way to arrest O1. If they couldn't find him, they intended to expel everyone and close the temple completely. But it was too late because the devotees were aware of the plan by then. No one wanted to leave the temple, no one wanted to leave. It was only after much effort that the temple was finally reopened that it felt like O1 had won that round. And O1 was still able to issue orders within the temple. O1 cleared up all the temple's problems during October and November 2017. Even though O6 pressured O1 through the media to condemn O1 and force O1 out of the abbot position, and succeeded. O6 was disappointed that the ecclesiastical head couldn't appoint him as the new abbot, even though he had personally requested the position. The ecclesiastical head's reasoning was that the former abbot had to appoint the new abbot if the former abbot was still alive or contactable. During that time, O1 was still contactable and therefore assigned him to appoint Luang Por Mu as the replacement. O6 was repeatedly disappointed. This point makes one wonder, from O2's perspective, why O1 didn't appoint O2 as the abbot. Despite O2 having served as acting abbot for so long, acting as O1's representative. Is this why O2 harbored such deep resentment towards O1 and later collaborated so well with O6? Considering the facts, don't forget that during that time, O2 was also involved in a legal case with O1 and was suspected of providing O1 with a hiding place in the temple while O1 was evading an arrest warrant. Even O2's position as Fra Fawana Wirayakan was revoked along with O1's position as Fra Tepya Namahamuni. This is why O1 couldn't appoint O2 as abbot. But will people forget as time goes by? If there are malicious instigators constantly whispering in O2's ear, whispering until O2 forgets who O1 really is, or even if they ever knew each other, or even knew someone with that name in their life, as clearly seen from O2's actions in the past year, someone who didn't notice, listen to, and follow O2's sermons every Sunday afternoon like we did, isn't that true? Don't accuse us of slandering O2. We are among the people who respect and love O1 and O2 the most. There's no reason for us to hate or slander O2. It's simply because we love them so much, and we've been following the truth since the good times. When things changed, why wouldn't we know? Because we followed the situation very closely. We just did the same things, but the change in O2 was undeniable. Intelligent people like us, who aren't confused or under the influence of black magic, would know about this abnormality. And anyone who accuses us of having been to the temple before, only to be banned from doing so, causing us resentment and leading us to spread false accusations. Please reconsider. We know what we've done. We are good people, leaders in merit making. We've worked for the temple since understanding the abbot's projects in 2003. We dedicated ourselves as leaders in merit making, meditating until we attained the Dhammakaya, and then leading all his projects and charitable work continuously until 2018. We've participated in every merit-making opportunity at the temple, going in and out of the temple as if we own it, like we're part of the community, just without a salary. We know what is merit and what is sinful. It's not just about seeing the details, but using intellect and logic based on the teachings of Luang Por Dhammachayo. O1 is enough to distinguish between right and wrong, what is true and what is false, what should and shouldn't be done. I am one of the people who have listened to Luang Por O1's sermons the most in the world. I can talk about it. I also graduated from the DO program, the second batch of which is based on the temple's curriculum. The main focus is on practicing Dhamma to attain the Dhammakaya. I have attained it, at the level of the subtle Dhammakaya. And O1 has been reading the results of my Dhamma practice aloud at the Kindergarten of Dreams school since January 2005. Therefore, everything that Luang Por Dhammachayo, O1 taught, I have verified for myself. I didn't believe anyone else. With my intellect and detailed knowledge, I am observant and diligently study continuously. Don't forget that I started learning Dhamma and listening to sermons via the Dhammakaya satellite broadcast with a focus on finding fault since December 10, 2003. Therefore, everything I tried to find fault with, I memorized accurately and was able to review it many times to make sure I hadn't misunderstood. The Kindergarten of Dreams School, where Luang Por Dhammachayo broadcasts, had a program once each time. Does anyone else listen like we do? We had to follow and listen to every review at least 3 times. And we did that from the first day we started attending the Kindergarten of Dreams School, which was December 10, 2003, until the last day that O1 taught in person, which was April 21, 2016. And our intention in listening to the Dharma was 100%, whether through the TV screen, YouTube, or sitting in the kindergarten studio. We didn't divide our attention among other things. We didn't stop to do anything else, because for us, we felt that Luang Por Dhammachayo was sitting with us the whole time, speaking in front of us the whole time. So we didn't get up. We didn't do anything else, we didn't lose our concentration. That's the truth. Even when we watched through the screen at home, it was the same. So if anyone didn't listen to the Dharma from O1 like we did, don't criticize us, don't pretend to know more than us. And we weren't like that just at the beginning. We were like that every day. Every year, from the first day we saw O1 through the screen until the day he stopped teaching in person, a total of over 12 years. We were exactly the same every time. Therefore, the information we received from the dragon overlapping body. During July 2018, we received a signal to inform all of Luang Por Dhammachayo's disciples worldwide, as much as possible, about the true situation at the temple and what had happened to him. The distress O1 faced at that time was that his means of delivering instructions and messages had been cut off. We later learned that the secretary of O1, Fra T, collaborated with O6 to stop sending O1's instructions on April 22, 2018. Fra T didn't forward any messages issued by O1 to anyone. Furthermore, he took the opportunity to issue messages as his own, forbidding anyone else from accessing O1's teachings except himself. This means that any teachings appearing to be from O1 after that would come from him and not be authentic. Therefore, when we sent out the information about the dragon in disguise story, which we were certain came from the real O1, and we even had a dream while preparing to publish it, in which the real O1 appeared to us and instructed us not to publish it as a complete book, but to send it out in installments of 3 days each. We couldn't have imagined this. And that dream was just during a time when I was resting my eyes and falling asleep. Like I was slumped over the table. In real life, I've never actually talked to Fra Dhammachayo like that, but he came to me in my dream, and his voice was so loud, making those pronouncements and giving me those orders. Even when I woke up, his voice was still ringing in my ears. If anyone else experienced something like this, wouldn't you believe it? But I believe that O1 really ordered me to do it. And it became confirmation that the dragon hiding in one's body story was truly O1's. That's it, no more doubts. So, I went all out to let the disciples of Luang Por Dhammachayo know the truth from O1, just like I knew, as quickly as possible. Why? So that the disciples could hurry and help O1. Because O1 couldn't give orders through normal means anymore. O1 had to use special methods. That's how it started, giving orders through special methods from then on. When the order was given to send it out via Facebook on August 26, 2018, in the morning, I followed it, and it really worked. At lunchtime, I didn't know the results. I was meditating with the temple's channel. I didn't go to the temple, but I followed it through the Dhamma channel. When I was a GBNUS member, I followed it 24/7. But while I was eating, Fra Mahavirachai called and told me, the story about the dragon's hidden form is not from O1. Don't be fooled, because O1 will not possess anyone. He once instructed that he will not use the Dhammakaya technique in any special way to command anyone. If anyone claims this, it means it's nonsense and unbelievable. We heard everything. But before we could say anything, the monk kept repeating it, and then the signal was cut off. We were just waiting for the monk to stop speaking so we could say that he was correct. But that was only correct within the inner circle. Luang Por Dhammachayo uses the Dhammakaya technique with his disciples in the outer circle who haven't yet come to the temple. And also with those in the outer circle who act as leaders in merit making to bring O1's followers back. Therefore, when O1 told the inner circle that he would not use the Dhammakaya technique to command anyone, it meant that O1 could already command those in the inner circle according to the hierarchical structure of their work. There's no reason to claim that when O1 said that to the inner circle, it meant he wouldn't do the same to those in the outer circle. It's ridiculous. Since O1 is highly skilled in the Dhammakaya technique and millions of followers have been reborn after him. If O1 didn't use the Dhammakaya technique with those who are leaders in merit making, we wouldn't see so many of his disciples accumulating merit. But this monk didn't seem to want to listen anymore. So this isn't a misunderstanding, but rather an incomplete understanding. And the monk who called was Fra Mahavirachai. And I don't know if he's understood correctly now. It's been 8 years. That evening, an order came from the temple via line, sent by friends, saying that my partner and I weren't allowed to enter the temple. But there were also 5 new rules attached, which were basically saying that people wouldn't be allowed into the temple if they were falsely claiming to be teachers or masters in this way or that. Which means that we were banned from entering the temple because we were suspected of possibly committing acts that fall under one of those categories that involve falsely claiming to be teachers or masters, stemming from the incident of sending the true story from the dragon overlapping the human body. In the temple, the person who issued the order, that's Fra T, meant that we were falsely claiming to be O1, the dragon overlapping the human body. But that monk misunderstood, because the truth is, O1 is the real dragon overlapping the human body, and he sent the message to us to deliver it. It's not that we were the ones falsely claiming to be O1 to deliver it. It's contradictory. But the important thing isn't who ordered whom or who claimed what, but that the story in there is actually true, from O1. The temple and those involved who are truly persecuting O1 don't want people to know the truth, so they're using it as a ploy to accuse us instead. Therefore, when they banned us from entering the temple, we immediately knew that a temple with people like this in power, making arbitrary decisions, means they don't truly understand the Dhammakaya. Even though we can't tell the truth, and they're accusing us like this, it means that if the person in a position to give orders is the one making these baseless accusations, it means they're not a follower of the Dhammakaya movement like O1 is, and they've seized all the power, not O1. The temple would have no credibility left, and we wouldn't waste our time going there anymore. At that time, Luang Phai Mu had just become the new abbot, while it was clear that the mastermind 06 no longer held the position of abbot. If we insisted on entering the temple, even though on August 27, 2018, there was a group led by Mr. I with hundreds of people ready to support us and our partner in entering the temple to affirm our right to do so, that no one could stop us, it would clearly cause a conflict between two sides, with this as the cause. And if the temple, through the senior monks, insisted on their decision, the laypeople would say they trust the monks more than ordinary laypeople. But importantly, by the time such a discussion happened, the image of a struggle and conflict would have already occurred, and 06 would blame the new abbot. We thought he didn't have enough authority to manage the temple properly, or that 06 would just be a scapegoat, a hero coming to solve the problem, making the abbot feel inferior or that he wasn't suitable and 06 was more suitable. We had a mental image that told us that if we went to the temple on the day they forbade it, There would be a big scene unfolding, playing right into their plan to deceive the whole world, so that they, O6, would have more credibility than the newly appointed abbot. Because of that, my partner and I decided not to enter the temple so that those in the temple would be disappointed. We later found out that's exactly what happened. The secretary of O1 at that time ordered all security guards and paramedics, numbering 100 to 200 people, to guard every entrance to the temple and check every vehicle on Dhamma Victory Day, August 27, 2018, and later in early September 2018, as well as on Teacher's Day of the Dhammakaya tradition, Luang Por's birthday, October 10, 2018, and the Kathina ceremony. We're already doing good deeds at home, watching through the screen, with clear and bright hearts, not feeling any distress or worry. You might ask, if we don't go to the temple, how can we still gain merit? Well, merit is something we seek out, but we need to know where merit comes from and how to earn it. We can gain merit wherever we are. We don't need to go to a temple. But I'm reiterating this because many people from the temple have recently started following us and are beginning to realize that something is really wrong. And those who have just started reading this, because their karmic debt is starting to run out, are starting to ask the same old questions that we answered in the beginning. Attacking us just like when people first started reading and listening to us. They think that we, the old merit makers and sponsors, have committed wrongdoing within the temple. And because of all the orders prohibiting entry to the temple, they are harboring resentment and slandering the monks. It's all old information that they've only recently realized and are now asking about and accusing us of. So we need to explain again what the truth really is. The point is, we're not boasting or anything, but to say that the people who are causing problems, creating cases for Luang Por 01, including the closure of the temple under Article 44, and all the legal lawsuits, are all revenge from 06 against 01. But the people at the temple know nothing about it. I only know the lies he told because 01 didn't tell me about his wrongdoing. But importantly, 02 should have enough wisdom to trust 01, Luang Por Dhammachayo, or if in doubt, should ask 01 to clarify. But the fact that 02 helped 06 return to the temple in 3 months. Even though 01 told 06 to leave the temple and never let 01 see his face again, shows that 02 didn't ask 01 and was misled by 06, who only told one side of the story. Relying on the credibility of being a doctor-level monk that 02 already acknowledges. Therefore, the signal indicating that 02 betrayed 01 began in late 2015. When 06 was allowed to return and receive the ecclesiastical title of Abbot of Wat Rajorat, 02 acted as if 06 was unaware of the truth, that 06 had been expelled from the temple by 01 since September 2015 and was not allowed to return because of the embezzlement of 700 million baht donated for the construction of the Thadachivo pagoda. Of course, 06 would not tell this truth because 02 wouldn't help him. Instead, it's more likely that 06 said something slanderous to 01, perhaps in a way that someone falsely accused 06, causing 01 to misunderstand 06 and thus expel him from the temple. 06 then asked for a chance to return to rectify his mistakes and make amends. This made 02 feel, or think, that helping 06 would incur some kind of favor, and that 06 would at least be considerate if he harbored ill intentions in the future. But this is the weakness that became the turning point. The relationship between 01 and 02 from that point on was because 02 started associating with the troublesome 06, thinking that 02 would use 06's merit as a tool to further enhance 02's own prestige. 02 forgot to consider why 01 expelled 06 from the temple. A virtuous person like 01, who knows the law of karma best, would never, unless absolutely necessary, expel a monk from the temple, as it would be a verbal act that would bring negative karma back to 01. But because 01 had no better choice, they had to expel 06. In reality, O2 shouldn't have believed everything O6 said and should have verified the facts with O1. However, O2's decision to help O6 immediately without verifying with O1 first likely stemmed from O6 offering something that exploited O2's weaknesses. Negotiating a deal that awakened O2's long-suppressed ego. Now, we're explaining this in detail to those who like to argue with us, thinking it's impossible that O2 would harbor ill will towards O1. Or that they don't believe O6 could harbor such ill will towards O1. Because there's a long-standing connection between them. If anyone is a true follower of Father O1, they would know the root cause. Don't criticize along the way just because you only saw a short segment or a few scenes. Many years have passed, and O6 knows that. As time passed, O6 learned what Kiantawan had told him. At the temple, Fra T, O1's secretary, collaborated with O6 to obstruct the temple's true instructions and then forged new ones. They worked together again in 2018. A second conflict arose in 2017. After the temple was closed for 23 days under Article 44, it reopened on March 10, 2017. A new abbot was appointed in October. Officially known as Abbot Mu. Within the temple, O1 instructed temple staff to write down O6's wrongdoings on A4 paper in their own handwriting. After 3 days, they collected a ream of A4 paper, approximately 500 sheets. O1 compiled all of it and had Ajar Mu photocopy it, giving 1 copy to O2 for his information. Upon receiving it, O2 rushed to meet O1 for a discussion. The details of their conversation are unknown, but it lasted several hours. O2 arrived looking stressed and anxious, but left looking relieved. This incident occurred at the end of August 2017. In September 2017, a message from O1, delivered during the Buddhist Lent period, was given to O2 to read in the Deva Sabha, the district's meeting room. Part of the message stated that those who like to cheat should leave the monkhood if they don't stop. This message was also sent to lay people in the temple. That was on September 4, 2017. Then, on September 5, which was the day of the Dhammakaya teacher, O2 gave a follow-up message advising them to repent to Luang Por Dhammachayo. On September 6, another message from O1 was released, reiterating the same point that those who like to cheat should leave the monkhood if they don't stop, as they should pursue a worldly career instead. This information reached the Worm Expulsion group, leading Mr. I to appoint himself as their leader, pressuring and assisting O1 in expelling the worm, which was understood to mean O6 at that time, from the temple. They successfully achieved this on the day of the Kathina ceremony. That year, on October 22, 2017, after the Kathina ceremony finished at 8 p.m., Mr. I received a phone call from Dr. Manau. Dr. Manau explained that O6 had flown from Thailand to America at 8:30 p.m. and praised Mr. I, saying he was clever for being able to get O6 out of the temple. At that time, this information indicated that O6 was actually a close friend of Dr. Manau and they confided in each other. The fact that O6 booked a flight to America immediately after the Kathina ceremony should have been a secret, shouldn't it? Even people in the temple didn't know. Why did O6 go? Because there were many messages sent via line to people in the temple from Mr. I's group, saying that after the Kathina ceremony, they would bring the sponsors to meet with O6 to seek answers about any irregularities in O1's sermons, whether it was O6 or not. Therefore, it was clear that O6 did not want to answer questions and did not want to face the sponsors. It was like saying it was true and then fleeing before meeting. Dr. Manau also said that there was no set date for his return. And after O6 flew away, in November 2017, an order was passed through the tea table, referring to the table where senior monks usually gather for tea and conversation, for Fra Tea. Leica 01 to relinquish all duties and go to Chiang Mai to practice meditation, with no set return date. At that time, it seemed as if 01 had cleared out the bad and dishonest people from the temple. 01 then mobilized new merit-making activities for the temple's members who had been involved in sinful acts for 06 for a long time. This included preparing to plant auspicious trees to be used as flower petals to welcome the monks on their Dharma pilgrimage in 2018. 01 ordered all levels of monks to participate in planting the trees themselves. This was seen as a way to replenish the merit and spiritual power that had been lacking for many years, making the 2018 Dharma pilgrimage likely to be a year of great merit. But who could have known what would happen after that, when 01 cleared out those who were 06's faction from their positions? Then, they prepared a legal team composed of people from side 01 to handle 01's cases. In reality, Fra T was the only one in charge of the legal team handling 01's cases, able to control the outcome, whether positive or negative for 01. When he was ordered to step down and focus solely on meditation, after only 3 weeks, an informant from Mr. I's team reported that a woman named E had brought Fra T back from Chiang Mai and held a meeting at the temple with 4 other monks. The meeting's agenda focused on one thing: finding a way to completely strip 01 of its authority, otherwise they would all be in trouble. Everyone in the meeting, including those 5 monks, would be in trouble. The 5 monks were Fra Theowal, the head of finance; Fra Lanfin, the head of security; Fra Thapthawi, the head of disciplinary matters; Fra Anu, the secretary of 02; and Fra T, the secretary of 01. The laywoman, Shai, acted very arrogantly, sitting at the head of the table at the temple meeting. She ordered these 5 monks to follow her instructions in completely cutting off the authority of 01, meaning that 01 would no longer be able to issue orders. This meeting took place on November 25, 2017. It is believed that they had this order in place, working together, and then contacted 06 to inform him that 06's personnel, who had been positioned in various roles within the temple, had all been transferred by 01 before the new year. They also revealed their plan. Therefore, at the end of March 2018, 06 returned, claiming to be attending Earth Day, which was the birthday of Luang Por Dhammachayo, 01. However, upon 06's return, he collaborated with Fra T, 01's secretary, and subsequently, they completely severed 01's authority. As orchestrated by Ms. E, this prevented any of 01's orders from reaching anyone, because they had all joined forces and followed Ms. E's instructions for fear of repercussions. This shows that they have been colluding to defraud and embezzle any assets or land belonging to 01 for a long time. This is because Ms. E was a woman who, in her younger days, dedicated herself to helping 01 with land allocation. 01 had a policy of opening up good friends' homes throughout the country, where anyone with land could donate it. And anyone with land could donate it. However, the land had to be allocated appropriately, and some of the donated land was not suitable for use as a place of meditation. At that time, Ms. E volunteered to manage the land sales, modifications, and improvements, helping 01 with this, including the Fanawad garden land. As time passed, a layperson like Ms. E, who had not purified her heart of worldly desires, accumulated vast wealth through the buying and selling of land, houses, and buildings throughout Thailand. Driven by greed, when the time came to return the Fanawad land to Luang Por Dhammachayo, 01, she refused. She even ordered the closure of Fanawat Park for many years, reopening only a few years ago, indicating a profit-sharing agreement had been reached since 01 was no longer involved. Since Luang Por Dhammachayo, 01, focused on his global mission, he no longer interfered, leaving the responsibility to those who had been entrusted with it. Therefore, there is no doubt about the extent of their shared interests. When the time came to break ties with O1, they sought to seize the assets donated by devout followers, including personal donations and land. Their shared interests with the other 5 monks who complied with Ms. E's orders demonstrate a significant and illicit relationship. When those who had been cheating and exploiting the temple's resources for a long time, involving O1, were about to face trouble, they teamed up with O6, a master of deception who had already been caught and expelled from the temple, but later found a way back with the help of O2. O6, already seeking revenge on O1, pushed for Frati to cut off O1's sources of influence. This created a mutually beneficial arrangement with a shared goal, eliminating O1, who, in their eyes, stood in the way of their comfortable and profitable activities. When O1 ordered Frati to retire and focus on meditation, preventing his return, it meant O1 knew of their wrongdoing and therefore did not want him to continue. However, when Yi ordered Frati to return and deal with O1, it became clear that their shared act of corruption was for their own benefit. They feared no karmic retribution. They only thought that O1 was an obstacle to their desired profits and therefore needed to be eliminated. Since O6 wanted to eliminate O1 anyway, their cooperation was easy. Even though the case was over and O1 couldn't be held accountable because they couldn't find him during the search, once O1 cut off Frati from his corrupt activities and O6 was forced to go abroad by O1 sending orders via text messages, they had to find a way to cut off all of O1's text message orders. Normally, Frati was the one who leaked O1's orders to others. Therefore, if Frati simply didn't leak O1's orders to anyone, it meant O1 couldn't give orders to anyone. It brought us back to the cycle I described earlier, where they cut off O1's orders on April 22, 2018. This forced O1 to use a special method, a dragon concealing itself, to send the story to us and our benefactors, informing O1's disciples in the outside area who never really knew what was going on in the temple. Especially at that time, they controlled everything in the temple to prevent O1 from giving orders, and O1 wasn't broadcasting the Kindergarten of Dreams program. So there was no way for O1 to tell his disciples that he was in trouble. When the dragon concealing itself revealed the story, it became clear who was giving the orders to forbid temple staff from reading or sharing the story, and also to coordinate. Tell the hosts and merit-making leaders not to read or share this. And also not to associate with me and my partner because those two have violated the new rules of the temple, which fall under the category of impersonating a revered teacher and causing division within the community. See? It all fits together perfectly, doesn't it? Since they didn't allow O1 to give orders because it came out in a special way, through us, they had to forbid anyone from knowing about it from us. They also forbade me and my partner from entering the temple and threatened that anyone who didn't obey would be banned from entering the temple as well. Even though at that time, O1, or Luang Por Dhammachayo, was truly being persecuted, truly suffering, truly needing help from his disciples, and was truly still in the temple. But because the disciples lacked the wisdom to think critically and were afraid of the threat of not being allowed to enter the temple, it became a situation where, even though we informed them of everything as true about O1, whom everyone truly loves, most people loved themselves more. They were only afraid of not being allowed to enter the temple without caring about what kind of matter would cause a good person in the temple to be banned. What kind of information was being sent? Why should they be forbidden from knowing? But most people in the temple didn't use their brains to think about this. They just let fear guide them and didn't know what kind of information we were sending that was being kept secret within the temple. They chose not to know. Isn't that the most selfish thing? If that matter concerned his own father, then he was such a selfish son, it could even be called ungrateful to his own father. And from that day until today, 8 years have passed. The real O1 has been using the method of a hidden dragon to continuously provide information about what is happening at the temple. We have also been doing our duty by disseminating information through the available channels. But the sinful things done at the temple are numerous, especially starting in 2023, as mentioned earlier. As soon as O2 invited O6 to the temple's administrative meeting in January, there was a project to build the Kokyu Pagoda, demolishing the old pagoda that Luang Por Dhammachayo intended to build as an offering to the Padmacharya of the Dhammakaya teachings, Grandmother Thongsuk Samdangpan. Simply put, it was like Luang Por O1 built the pagoda as a home for the relics of Grandmother Thongsuk. As a way of showing gratitude to the source of the Dhammakaya teachings that led to the founding of Wat Phra Dhammakaya, through Grandmother Chankon Nok Young to Luang Por Dhammachayo, O1. Demolishing the pagoda that was almost completed, just to use it as an opportunity to solicit new donations, even deciding to demolish the only pagoda that was like Grandmother Thongsuk's home. Using donations from devotees specifically for Grandmother Thongsuk, which is unique to this place. To build this pagoda effectively cuts off the opportunity for all the donors to continue accumulating merit. It is a grave sin for anyone who would think of doing this. And claiming that it's being built as a pagoda dedicated to Luang Por Dhammachayo is impossible. Luang Por Dhammachayo already announced a public invitation to build a pagoda, which would be like a home for Grandmother Thongsuk, and then suddenly, they tore it down and replaced it, saying they would build a pagoda to glorify themselves. Is that really Phra Dhammachayo? What kind of person would think like that? Only ungrateful people would think like that. But how can they accuse Luang Por O1 of such wickedness, when O1 is the most grateful person? To tear down the house of a benefactor that he intended to build for them and then make it his own house. And a pagoda is like the house of someone who has died, isn't it? But O1 is not dead yet. Yet they claim that O1 said he would build a pagoda for himself. What is that? It's a very unconvincing lie. Their only goal was to raise funds to give to someone, according to some agreement, which Luang Por O1 never gave. It must have involved higher powers since that year. During the COVID-19 year, 2019, it was probably as soon as they knew that O1 had left Wat Phra Dhammakaya, February 2, 2019, that they started torn down the almost completed Kokyu Pagoda. They tore it down to raise funds for that first, and then later build a new main Buddha statue, saying it was the latest version of the Buddha statue inside that Luang Por Dhammachayo, O1 had created. They claimed to have seen it while meditating, so they had it rebuilt. This is a grave deception and a very serious sin. As we've already explained, if the main Buddha image is a Dhammakaya, the subtle aspect, it resides within a person and must be pure white, transparent, and bright. There should be no black on any part of the body, lacking the 32 characteristics of a great man: hair, eyes, eyebrows, and the urna. The more refined one's meditation practice becomes, the more one will perceive only the characteristics of the Dhammakaya that resemble the main Buddha image in the glass room. This refers to the physical Dhammakaya in the Ayatana Nibbana, nirvana without shedding the body. The Dhammakaya there will have human-like skin, a pinkish hue, golden robes, golden brown hair, and light-colored eyebrows, eyelashes, and the urna. That is the latest version of the subtle Dhammakaya, reaching the physical Nibbana or the Nibbana without shedding the body, on the side of merit. If they create it with black hair within a golden body, it falls into the category of the subtle aspect of the Nibbana without shedding the body, on the side of sin. The creators didn't actually know or see the subtle aspects. Their hearts were manipulated by Mara, the demon. It was the sinful side that inspired them to do it that way. It's called sinful inspiration. And the people at the temple didn't know about it. This immediately reflects the truth that at that time, besides Luang Por Dhammachayo, 01, no other monk had access to the Dhammakaya realm to see its subtle aspects. From 02 onwards, no one saw anything. Therefore, no one opposed that form and created it. And of course, anything claimed to have come from 01 at that time, since 2023, came from the lies of 06, who stood at the temple entrance announcing, as posted on Crew Jude's page, on January 18, 2023. 06 was seen announcing to people passing by that 06 wanted to talk to 01 about a project that would bring 100,000 people to the temple each month. Many people heard him say this, but many people, including those in the inner and outer areas besides the hidden dragon, 01, the true knower, and ourselves and our partners, didn't know that 01 hadn't been in the temple since February 2, 2019. In the temple, only 06 and Fra T knew this truth well. Because the two of them, along with 5 other monks, including 02, jointly testified to the Anti-Money Laundering Office, AMLO, officials, falsely accusing 01 of committing fraud at the temple as being on 01's orders. This made 7 monks witnesses, and the evidence was all the fraud that the AMLO had uncovered. 06 was the one who gave this idea to the other 6 monks, including 02. They then used fake sermons to raise funds from the Sira Razmi Gold Leaf donation campaign, collecting 100 million baht per monk for bail, totaling 700 million baht for all 7. This made the evidence ready to incriminate 01. 01 then prepared to bring in a large force of officials to raid the temple in February 2019. 01, through clairvoyance, foresaw that when they couldn't find him, they would evict everyone from the temple and close it down. This meant that 2,000 to 3,000 people who had lived and eaten at the temple for many years would be driven out, leaving them without food, shelter, or a place to live. This would cause great hardship and create severe new karma. Out of compassion, 01 believed that they could not allow them to do this. Therefore, 01 left the temple, letting 06 know that there was no need for the police to raid. Thus, 06 and Fra T knew that 01 was truly gone, and they took over all affairs from then on. They used their authority, being able to issue sermons on behalf of 01 and give orders to anyone, whether 01 was present or not. This was convenient and easy for them to use indefinitely, because they knew that if the temple people knew 01 was absent, they wouldn't come to make donations. Therefore, they had to keep this secret for as long as possible, pretending that 01 was still there to avoid losing donations and using 01's name to generate as much money for themselves as possible. This led to many large-scale merit-making projects immediately after 06 joined the temple committee in 2018. Such as the construction of the Kokyu Pagoda and the creation of 24 Buddha statues, claiming they were being built for Luang Por 01, as previously mentioned. In February 2023, 2 new Buddha statues were cast, claiming to be the latest versions of the inner Buddha images that Luang Por Dhammachayo had seen in many years. A similar 3-meter-tall Buddha statue was then commissioned for Wat Ban Kun in August 2023. A 3-month fundraising project was initiated to contribute to the Kathina ceremony for 30,000 temples nationwide for the first time, during the end of Buddhist Lent in October to November 2023. All those in the area were encouraged to study Pali, falsely citing the teachings of Luang Por 01. With the aim of winning the Thai Pali Championship. Instead of having time for meditation and accessing the Buddha within themselves, as originally intended by Luang Por 01, the temple people spent their time studying Pali textbooks. Everything was a process manipulated by the forces of Mara, entering the center of the body of 06 and acting according to the forces of Mara's plan. Therefore, 2023 was a year that brought utter destruction to the meritorious side of 01, especially during the commissioning of the Buddha statues. that resembles the detailed depiction of the principal Buddha image representing the sinful side of Mara, the demon.